Welcome to our next tutorial on how to use the Weather Centre. And for this tutorial, we're going to go into one of these bottom things called the location ranges. So this allows us to zoom in and out of specific areas. Now you'll notice that these are blanked out, and the reason they're blanked out is because we're looking at national level imagery. So obviously we can't zoom into 32-kilometre imagery if we're looking at a map of Australia. So what we have to do here is choose a set location. Now what we can't zoom in on are these major areas, so Australia, Queensland, Coral Sea, NT, WA, South Australia, Victoria, Tassie, New South Wales and the Southeast Indian Ocean. So what we actually have to do is, for this example, I'm going to zoom into Cairns. So I'm going to click Cairns from our drop down menu, and you can see we've got a number of different drop down things for for Queensland, for the NT, for WA, and then a few for the other states because we don't tend to cover them as much, but we've also got the islands around Australia as well, if you want to have a closer look at those. But in this particular example, as I mentioned, we're going to use Cairns as the example. So we've clicked on Cairns, and now what we find is that we've got a number of different location ranges available to us. So if we want to zoom into this image right into Cairns, we can see that we can get right into the 32-kilometre imagery. Now what we've got here is a situation where our radar can go right into 32 kilometres, so right into that local level imagery. Our models can go into that as well. And you can see in this example, I've included our models overlay. So I've actually added that, and then I've looked at one of the models, and we'll talk about what different models are available. I'm looking at the Access C North Queensland specific model for this particular example. But in this scenario, we can see that we can zoom in. Now, one of the interesting things is if you click on layers here, you'll notice that satellite is blanked out. That means we can't look at satellite at this level. And the reason is that satellite isn't as high resolution as radar or as computer model data. So we need to zoom out. And what you'll notice here is that satellite will be blanked out until we get to a situation where we're in a location range where satellite becomes available. So I've zoomed out to 64, and notice now that satellite is available. But notice that in terms of satellite, the only one available to us is visible 500-metre imagery, because that's the only one that's highly resolved enough to actually make a proper image here. All the others, if we were to allow you to watch all the others, they'd all be really pixelated and look really ugly, and you wouldn't be able to make anything out. But once we get out to 128 or 192 or 256 or 512 kilometres, you'll notice that all of the different satellites are now available to you now. So you can see here, you can click on infrared rainbow imagery, and you've got that. So there are certain things that aren't available at those really high resolution imagery levels, and that's because the actual satellites don't produce images that are highly enough resolved for us to be able to offer them to you. So every satellite is available at this location range, this location range, this location range, and this location range. Visible satellite is available to you at this location range. No satellite imagery is available to you at this location range. At radar, you have radar at every location range, and you have two different types of radar. You've got rain radar, and you've also got wind radar. We'll talk about the different types in another tutorial. And all these other layers are available to you. So we can add the lightning. If there's any lightning around, we can add roads overlay to that. We can add the catchments overlay to see which river systems this rain is falling in. We can also look at the radar coverage zones, which you can see here the entire region is covered. And if there's any cyclones around, you'll get cyclone maps at that time at any location range. And so too, as I mentioned, computer model data is available at all location ranges. But the only one that gets a little bit tricky is satellite imagery. So once again, you can go as local as you want or as far and wide as you want using our location ranges on the OCC Weather Centre.